Our journey begins around 12,000 years before Christ, somewhere in the Middle East, before it became the Middle East we know nowadays. Where some dude we're going to call Tony discovered that if you take 2 stones, put some weird looking grass into it and grind it really hard, you get some cool powder. Congratulations, you just invented flour. Now eating said flour was not very tasty at all, so chef, can you make this flour gourmet?
Of course I can. Mix it with some water, make it flat, put it above the fire and you get bread!
In its simplest form. Now, did it taste gourmet?
9.
It also didn't look anything like the bread you can get out of the bakery at 6 AM before your 9-to-5 job, but no one seemed to care. 9,000 years later, the empty space in the Middle East suddenly became Egypt.
Where some Egyptian woman was making some bread for her family when she
suddenly died of Ebola before finishing it!
2 days later, her children noticed that the bread suddenly became large and fluffy.
Now they didn't know why this happened, but today we know that a little bacteria called the yeast makes the bread puff up and suddenly makes it delicious. Now if you cook it, you get fluffy, non-liquid bread. Does it taste good?
9.
But it's kinda good, so we roll with it. But the Egyptians loved this kind of bread so much they started using it as currency and exchanged it for slaves. Since they didn't invent an ongoing currency like euros or dollar yet, bread was a great option for trading.
Now cut forward to medieval Europe, where even bread was racist.
Hey, hast schon gesehen, dass Deutschland ein neues Brot fallen gelassen hat?
Diese Deutschen hatten sich ja immer etwas Neues einfallen.
Bread became a status symbol, and only the rich nobility could afford white bread, made of wheat, while the peasants had to eat black bread made of rye or barley. Funnily enough, just like the black people today, black bread is considered much healthier than white bread. By now, bread has become very important. Everyone was fighting over it. It became such a vital part of the world's diet because it was easily stored and didn't go bad easily. Whoever had the bread was the king. For example, the heartland of Ukraine was excellent for growing wheat, which, just like today, makes it a fiercely contested piece of land. Bread was what kept people alive, so it was worth a lot of money. So whoever had the bread had the money, whomever had the money had an army, and whoever had bread could feed such an army. Jump forward to the start of the 19th century, and some guy had the idea of steam-powered ovens, which made everyone go crazy and start using steam machinery for everything. Now white bread was being made in factories and farmers had tractors so they could harvest from bigger fields. Everyone wanted white bread and it became much more available. Black people still didn't have rights though. Until Martin Luther King Jr. Until Martin Luther King Jr. rolled around. Now let's talk about the biggest revolution in bread history. Sliced bread. Might seem pretty trivial to you, but to the people in the 1920s, it was such a big invention that the Germans have one of the biggest variety of bread in the whole world. And especially for the 20s, when bread went from commodity to something you had an overflow. Germany became pretty creative with their bread. Fun fact, the American army banned sliced bread in 1943 to conserve resources. How weird. Now let's come to today, where the journey of bread came full circle.
Now, the journey of bread has reached its peak because of the famous doing of Steinklotz saying the word bread over 5,000 times. Cheers.